Hawks Nation, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of the HawksFanTV Podcast. I'm your host, Mac, and I am rejoined by the ever so handsome Derek Freeze as my co-host this week. It's so nice to have you back, my man, and have you back on the podcast. I would ask you how things have been going since you last been on, but I'm sure, as you have told me off air, they have been going great for you, man. They've been going stellar, so I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you, and it's good to have you back, my man.
No, it's good to be back. Yeah, last time I was on the show was right before modern day hate. Georgia Southern, Georgia State, the other GSU, and I had to, first episode back, I had to rep it afterwards. Had to kind of, just rub it in one more time because for the last 3 years I had to hear the two state fans that are in existence. So I'm, holding over my head.
I never said a word. But hey, we're happy for you guys. There's not much going on in Statesboro, Georgia, so you guys got to have something. You got to have something. And as I was saying off air too, it's now basketball season. This is a Hawks podcast, so we won't talk about a team right now. But anyways, we'll quit boring our listeners with the good old Sunbelt talk and get into this week. As you guys have probably picked up on, the vibes are going to be a little low this week because the Hawks have lost 3 in a row. We've lost 2 in a row in the in-season tournament, which has actually seemed to have been pretty high-level basketball. I've been pretty impressed with all these games so far. And yeah, guys, I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It sucks. It's not fun. I said earlier on this podcast this season that I don't think the Hawks would lose 2 games in a row many times this season, and here we are losing 3 in a row. And I don't know. We'll get into each game, but it's just hard to kind of keep having the same we'll get them next game, we'll get them next year. Like it gets to a point where it just gets old, man. But there's still plenty of things that were good. But man, it's been rough, Derek. It's been rough.
I mean, losing 3 straight is never fun. Especially once we got 2 games above 500, I'm like, oh, thank God we can finally put the 500 bug behind us. That seemed to always we were just mediocre last year all the way through, around 500 the whole time. I was like, finally, we're going to be beyond it. And lo and behold, we dropped below 500. Definitely defense has been lacking with the Hawks. And it's definitely, I mean, the court was beautiful. The blue court's beautiful in person. But, God, we're 2-5 at State Farm Arena so far.
Not good.
That's
not good. Not good. So, yeah, the first game was that loss against the Sixers, which we lost 126 to 116. I was actually at that game. It's the only game I've attended this season. Last year, I was only able to attend a handful of games. We went undefeated in all of those, so I thought I was going to bring my good juju from Jacksonville, Florida, but I did not. Joel Embiid dropped 32 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. Tobias Harris, man, dropped 29 points and 10 boards. I was not expecting that. I know he's been good. I know he's been really solid for the Sixers this year, but was not expecting that out of him. Maxey was the one I was expecting the 29 and 10 out of, but, a respectable 19 and 8 out of him. But I will say one of the Sixers players I saw post-game said that, they were viewing the game with a playoff mentality. So I don't know if that's more so of a compliment to the Hawks or more so a compliment to the in-season tournament. But needless to say, we got NBA players before Thanksgiving's even happened viewing games as a playoff mentality. So I'm okay with that. Even with us losing the game, I do like to hear that. I think that's a good selling point for the in-season tournament. The Sixers hit 27 of their 28 free throws, which, we actually attempted 2 more free throws than they did. So I was going to make the argument. I was like, oh, well, of course, Embiid and the Sixers, they got the best whistle in the league. Like, of course they won. They went to the line, 20 more times than we did. Nope. But they were a lot more efficient from the line. It's not like we missed a lot of those 30 free throw attempts, but, when you get to the line in the NBA, especially in a playoff mentality game, you even for a team, man, you need to be shooting almost 100% from the line.
they made the plays at the end of the game to win it.
Oh yeah, no, well that's literally my next note is that we end the third quarter being down by, I believe it was 7 at the end of the third. And, up to that point, the 7-point lead, I think that was the largest for either team. Like it was a back and forth game through and through, man. And they just pulled away in the fourth, which is just something that, admittedly, as a Hawks fan, we've seen that a lot of times, even before the Trae Young era, right? And I don't know, man. I like you kind of just said, or rather I just said, when are we going to be the team consistently, pulling away in the fourth quarter? I don't know, man. I'm not trying to get too worked up, but it was not fun. Last little note though, and I'll throw the mic over to you. We have Trae and DeJounte. Trae dropped 22 points, 13 assists. That's pretty good. That's not terrible. DeJounte 13 points and 3 assists. But here's the kicker, man. They combined shot 10 of 30. That's our 2 best players shooting 30% in a playoff game, right? Like, I don't know, man. That was just not fun to see. And, I think the 10 points, the 10-point point differential for the final score honestly was not indicative of how much of a, excuse my French, but ass kicking that was out of the Sixers, because that fourth quarter, they just dominated in my mind. So yeah, man, that Sixers game was rough, but hey, at least the courts look cool.
Yeah, I mean, blue courts looks cool. I mean, I love the intensity of the in-season tournament. I do kind of wish they would have got like the G League involved, kind of like a FA Cup, where like even like over in England, like Wrexham will play like Arsenal, like everyone gets a shot. But I do like more meaningful basketball. The courts across the league have been interesting, but yeah, Trae, luckily last night he finally seemed to get his score in touch. But the biggest thing that's been holding us down is it's like, yeah, when we're cooking offensively, it's like, man, we're hitting everything. But on the opposite end of the court, I mean, it's again a layup line. It's again some of it just a half a second late on the rotation back around. Dude's getting open shots. The point of attack defense, wing defense has all been.
Yeah, no,
it's been rough, and we're 24th in the league as of last night. After last night, 24th in the league.
Yep.
In defensive rating,
which is pretty horrible.
I said.
And that you're not going to win games doing that,
Yeah, and I said, when we had our preseason predictions, I said for this team to be a 4th seed in the East, which I predicted, I said they're going to have to get around that top 15 defense, and 24th is not going to cut it, and that's where we're back to where we were last year, hovering around 500 right now. Not saying that we can't fix it though.
Yeah,
because. Trae is actually not the problem on defense. He's actually trying. Right. It's not Trae's fault.
Right. Yeah, no. So we will we'll get to the defensive struggles a little later in the show. But yeah, no, it's been rough, man. It's been rough. I guess last little note about the Sixers game, and we'll move on to the Pacers game, which was, I guess it was a fun game at least. When DeAndre got that ejection with his second technical, it was about halfway through the third. I love to see that emotion out of him, a guy that you don't normally see it out of. And I was kind of hoping that was going to be this galvanizing moment for the rest of the Hawks, where they came together and, the emotions, they rode the high and were able to win the game. And if anything, it felt like it was kind of the opposite. So, but hey man, that was a tough game, but you know what? We lost a game. I had the mentality of, look, hey man, we just needed to split these 2 games. Let's go in to Tuesday against the Pacers. They got one of the best offenses in the league, but they got one of the worst defenses in the league. Let's do this.
29th.
So we ended up losing 157 to 152. That is not a made-up score. That is not a 2K score. That is a real-life NBA score in a real-life game that happened last night. And you know what? Vegas knew this was going to happen, guys. It came into the game was actually going into last night, the highest over-under in the NBA since 1995, set at 252.5. There was 253 points with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So it well surpassed. So if you are a betting degenerate, like some out there, and I'm kidding. That's obviously a joke. But yeah, if you're into betting and that's your thing, I hope you smashed the over on that game last night, because it was bound to happen, man. It's our third straight loss, 5 out of the last 7, which is just kind of unacceptable for the level of play that I was expecting out of this team this year. It's I don't know, man. I want to sit here and kind of break down how bad the defense was, but all you really have to say is that they put up 157 points, man, in 4 quarters of play. And I saw last night on the old Twitterverse, and I won't call out any names or anything, but people saying like, oh, the defense was so horrible at the end, like how do we let that happen? And then of course some of these keyboard warriors coming through and being like, what are you talking about? Like, Hawks played great defense. Buddy Hield was just hitting incredible shots. Listen, man, that may be true. That may be true. That may 100% be true that on those last 4 or 5 possessions in the fourth quarter, when they made every single one of their shots and it felt like every single one of them was a 3 that didn't even remotely touch the rim. All right. They were incredible shots. I get that. They put up 157 points. You acting like the defense of the Hawks and the defensive struggles of the Hawks was not the reason the Hawks lost that game. What are you talking about, buddy? Do you have eyes? Can you see the freaking scoreboard? Like, I'm just saying, man, acting like, oh, well, the Hawks played really good defense on the last few possessions. What about the other 150 possessions of the game? Like, I don't know, man. It was insane. I mean, rant over though. I will let you tell me how you feel about it.
You score 152 points, you better win. There's
sure. I mean, you score 152 points, you better win. You score 86 points in the first half, you better win. Your star player in Trae Young drops 38 points on 13 of 17 shooting. That's incredible. That is incredible. You're supposed to win that game. I cannot believe the Hawks blew that last night. I cannot believe it.
Yeah, but Trae gets out of his shooting slump. Bogey picks up three quick fouls, and then Quinn keeps him in the game because he's a high IQ guy. He's a low foul guy, and he goes off. Now, defensively in the second half, he cooled off, and then his defense, like he's a smart defender. He ain't the best defender, but overall, we were shooting lights out. But I mean, Hildenberg in the third quarter he got hot, but it seemed the game really changed when, let's face it, Clint Capella doesn't get enough flowers for how much he really covers for the rest of the Hawks, when he's in the game with his rim protection. They went small that second half. We were running with Jalen Johnson at the 5 at one point because Onyeka was not having a good game. And once that happened, it was just they were making some ridiculous shots, but also there was times it was again like the Boston series where guys just get into the basket at will. It's like, Sadiq Bey had a horrible defensive game. It's just frustrating, man. But the important thing to realize is we're still young in the season. This defense, like a lot of times it just seems like we're like, and I know this game I know we're about to get into it later, but it seems like several times again last night, it's always like a half second too late on the defensive switches. Like we're putting 2 people on the ball and they're swinging the ball around and we have a guy running at the corner, but the guy's already shooting the ball and our defender is still 10 feet away. So it's like, you're not even really challenging. You're just giving these guys open looks. So it just seems like everyone's shooting great against the Hawks. It's like, well, we're giving them a lot of good looks too. They're NBA players for a reason. They get paid handsomely for a reason. And if you give them open looks.
Right. No, man. Trae Young even said it last night in the postgame presser. And, they were saying it because Quinn even commented on it. And I'll give him his flowers too. If there's one player on the team that has actually improved their defense this season, it's Trae Young. And when people come on Twitter and say, oh, it's because of Trae Young, that's how I know that you're a lazy sports takes person and probably don't even watch the games because Trae Young's defense has improved, man. The end of the game.
He stripped Hindenburg last night. He stripped him. What's
exactly,
his name? I always butcher his name.
At the end of the game. And then DeJounte Murray makes a boneheaded decision and just drives straight down the lane. But whatever, man. I'm more so.
Right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that real quick. It's like I get sometimes like if there's an easy path to 2. Yeah, that was not a clear shot path. Like 10 seconds left. It's like at that point,
No,
what are
I
we
think if
doing?
anything, he thought he was
It's
going to
like,
draw the contact and maybe get the 3 points the old-fashioned way, but
well, it's like
I
against the
don't know,
Knicks
man.
with Bogey.
That was a boneheaded play, man.
Well, well, not
And
just that, but the Knicks game with Bogey. Like, I wanted Bogey to take that last shot, but like, was it the Knicks game where Bogey was on fire? We give him to the ball like 8 seconds left, and he just throws up the stupidest shot in the world. And
yeah,
it's like it's our late game
that's in the
execution just seems to
past. I'm
be,
not thinking about those
yeah.
anymore. Um, yeah, no, it was bad, man. It was bad. I guess so. Before we get into our last little segment of the week, though, there's at least I guess some interesting stats and positive stats from last night's game. The first positive stat being that Trae Young did actually pass Joe Johnson on the Hawks all-time three points made list for second all-time. He's now just behind Mookie Blaylock. Shout out Darren and Zach Blaylock, Walton Raiders legends. But you know, it didn't really matter. But the other interesting stat that just kind of shows how last night's game's offense was just insane and was off the charts all across the board, not just for the Pacers, for the Hawks as well. The Hawks are averaging 42 and a half field goals per game, which I believe is best for ninth in the league. It's either sixth or ninth. My brain can't remember which number it is. It's either up or down, but either six or nine, 42 and a half field goals per game, right? Made. They made 33 in the first half last night. So just the game was insane, man. But I got to admit, when we were up and we had 86 at the half, I knew. I had a feeling, man. I had a feeling.
No, up by 20, down by 13. And then tied, like this team is just, it is every game's an emotional roller coaster. It seems like if we start off hot, we got to fall flat on our face in the third quarter, and we start off like it seems like every back-to-back we play, we start off so slow and then just have a hellation. I mean, I know it's basketball, it's a game of runs, don't get me wrong, but it's like how many times this year have we been up by double digits and came back? Like not just regular double digits, but like 15 plus points. And how many times have we been down and vice versa? It's like we just every game is an emotional roller coaster. No lead is safe and no lead is insurmountable, it seems like, with this Hawks team.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a roller coaster of emotions, that's for sure. So we'll kind of, like I said, just highlight those defensive struggles again real quick. I just had a few stats that I wanted to say again, and I have it in all caps on my notes, for underneath defensive struggles. Gave up 157 points in 4 quarters. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a basketball savant to understand that, oh man, I don't think that's good. No, that's horrible. Okay. That's like when the Broncos gave up 70. I mean, that's dang near up there, man. It really is. Like that's horrible. But whatever.
It's only happened like 12 times in history. Like, isn't it right? It's only happened a handful of times where both teams score that many points.
Right, exactly. And that's where it's the most frustrating part, man. If it's one of those games like Memphis and OKC from like 4 or 5 years ago, and we just got absolutely destroyed, whatever, man. It's one loss on the schedule. On to the next one. No, man, we had an historic offensive night ourselves and couldn't even win the game. And it's because of this. Because our defense rating is so horrible. As you said, I had 6th worst, but the same thing is 24th best. 6th worst in the league in defensive rating as a team. But here's the kicker, man. The top 20 players in worst defensive rating, like individual players, we got 4 of them. No other team has 4. The only other teams that have 3 are the Spurs and the freaking Pistons. No, the Wizards. The Spurs and the Wizards. They have a combined 5 wins. Okay. Well, we as a team, one team already have more wins than them. It's insane to me. And who those 4 people could be? I'm sure you're wondering. Okay, well it sucks. Trae Young is one of them. I know he's improved his defense, but he is one of them. All right, I don't care. He's at least improved. You know what the other 3 are? They kind of shocked me, to be completely honest. I was not expecting them. Actually, the next one I'm about to say, who is 2nd worst on the team, I was definitely expecting him. DeAndre Hunter, that guy who is supposed to be, mini Kawhi Leonard over there. He is one of the worst defenders in the league right now. You know who else is in there? DeJounte
And
Murray.
offensively,
Wasn't he supposed to be this, light-skinned Drew Holiday coming in and wrecking things for us defensively? Like, that's at least what I heard on Twitter. So, again, not doing great. Bottom 20 in the league. And then finally, Sadiq Bey, which Sadiq, honestly, man, you weren't brought in for your defense prowess. But to be completely honest, you were brought in to at least be a 3-and-D player. I mean, you weren't supposed to be all NBA defender, but jeez, man. Sorry, I know emotions. I said vibes were low.
No,
emotions are not low. So it's frustrating, man. It just seems to be the same old crap, and I just don't understand.
Now, I want to see a silver lining here. Like we talked about, beginning of the season, some of the losses, it was the defense, but we talked about the offense looking a little clunky, and we're like, hey, these guys didn't get to play in Quinn's system last year. Obviously, defensively, we're doing something different this year. It's apparent. And it just, to me, is like, I feel like the reason why some of these guys put up something like you talked about last night, how they were making ridiculous shots. Well, they also got so many easy shots. And when you see the ball go into the hoop, that basket starts looking bigger and bigger. So, like, we give up the easy layups, we give up that. But I'm hoping, because it seems like at times it's just we're just a half a second behind on something. I'm hoping that as we go further into the season, that maybe Quinn and like whatever system will work, and we can finally figure it out. I mean, we seem to have got the offense humming, but yeah, to get where we need to go, we can't be sixth worst in the NBA. We have to be a top 5 team. If we get to around the 15 to 17 in terms of team defense rating, if we could somehow fight and claw, somehow luck, I don't know, whatever it takes, if we can get to there, our offense, that's enough to carry us for a deep playoff run. Oh, yeah. But 24th, we're going to be just like we were last year, hovering around 500, play-in tournament. Then, well, let's face it, Trey probably be gone at that point, but that's for down the road. We're not at that level yet. Yes, it sucks now, but
haven't got there just yet. But if we don't improve things,
just everyone relax.
Right.
We got a game tonight against Brooklyn. Ben Simmons is out. So is which I kind of like watching Ben Simmons play against the Hawks because it brings back that glorious thoughts of 2021.
Right.
But
exactly. We'll wrap up the episode on this. Just a quick little preview of our next 3 games. This will probably be the 3 that we play before our next episode. As Derek mentioned, we got the Nets tonight. They're coming in at a record of 6-7-2. I know Cam Thomas was killing it. He still is killing it, and is going to be quite honestly, man. With our defense, could probably drop 50 points tonight. Then we got the Wizards on Saturday in Washington D.C., which that should be hopefully an easy win, man. But again, Kuzma and Jordan Poole probably go off on us. And then we get, a very crappy team in the Boston Celtics in Boston at the TD Garden. So shouldn't be too hard for these next few games for the Hawks. If I do, which I know no one's holding a gun to my head, but I always offer my prediction. I will say the Hawks go 1-2 in this stretch, and we are sitting at 7-9 when we record next week. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't. My faith is dwindling quick. I got to be honest, guys. I normally try and be the optimistic guy in the room with the Hawks. It's dwindling a little bit. But we will get you out of here on that, guys. As always, thank you for the support. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following us from day one, as we have kind of grown this into a little bit more than just a Twitter account and an actual media outlet. Be sure to check out our articles at HawksFanTV.com. That's where you'll find other cool content as well. Be sure to give us a follow on X and Instagram at HawksFanTV. That's where you'll see other cool content as well, our spaces and whatnot. And yeah, guys, just be on the lookout for more. Hopefully we can deliver happier news going forward, but that is out of our control. So we just bring the news no matter what it is. But as always, thank you guys, and looking forward to next week. Go Hawks, baby.